Intelligence is a powerful tool for creating complex and intriguing characters who challenge the expectations of the audience and the other characters. In this section, we will explore how intelligence can be used to create different types of characters, such as geniuses, tricksters, manipulators, and rebels, and how they can add tension and conflict to your stories. One way to use intelligence to create complex characters is to give them different contexts. This means that your character is not just smart in one domain, but has different skills and abilities that are relevant to different situations. For example, you can have a character who is a shrewd detective and a patient mother, or a character who is a brilliant scientist and a skilled musician. By giving your character different contexts, you can show different facets of their personality and make them more realistic and relatable. Another way to use intelligence to create complex characters is to choose important relationships. This means that your character has meaningful interactions with other characters who challenge them, support them, or influence them in some way. For example, you can have a character who has a mentor who guides them, a rival who competes with them, a friend who confides in them, or a lover who betrays them. By choosing important relationships, you can show how your character reacts to different emotions and situations and make them more dynamic and human. A third way to use intelligence to create complex characters is to describe their culture and heritage. This means that your character has a background and a history that shapes their worldview and values. For example, you can have a character who belongs to a minority group that faces discrimination, a character who comes from a wealthy family that expects excellence, a character who grew up in a war-torn country that taught them survival, or a character who follows a religion that gives them purpose. By describing their culture and heritage, you can show how your character relates to their identity and society and make them more unique and diverse. A fourth way to use intelligence to create complex characters is to show different attitudes. This means that your character has opinions and beliefs that are not always consistent or predictable. For example, you can have a character who is cynical about politics but optimistic about science, a character who is compassionate towards animals but ruthless towards humans, a character who is loyal to their friends but rebellious against authority, or a character who is confident in their abilities but insecure in their appearance. By showing different attitudes, you can show how your character thinks and feels about different topics and make them more surprising and engaging. A fifth way to use intelligence to create complex characters is to create exceptions. This means that your character has flaws and weaknesses that contrast with their strengths and virtues. For example, you can have a character who is brilliant but arrogant, a character who is clever but dishonest, a character who is creative but unstable, or a character who is wise but stubborn. By creating exceptions, you can show how your character struggles with their limitations and challenges and make them more flawed and sympathetic. By using these 5 steps for adding character complexity, you can create intelligent characters who are not only smart but also complex and intriguing. Intelligent characters can add tension and conflict to your stories by challenging the expectations of the audience and the other characters. They can also inspire curiosity and admiration in the audience by showing them new perspectives and possibilities. Intelligence is not just a trait but a tool for creating compelling characters. Ambiguity is a literary technique that allows writers to create complex, uncertain, and even humorous experiences for readers. Ambiguity means that something can be understood in more than one way, and it can be used to create suspense and mystery by leaving some questions unanswered or open to interpretation. One way to use ambiguity in stories is to create ambiguous characters. These are characters who have unclear or conflicting motives, morals, or personalities. For example, in Shakespeare's Hamlet, the character of Hamlet is ambiguous because he is torn between avenging his father's murder and obeying his mother's wishes. He also pretends to be mad, but sometimes it seems that he is really losing his sanity. This makes him an unpredictable and fascinating character, who keeps the audience guessing about his true intentions and feelings. Another way to use ambiguity in stories is to create ambiguous situations. These are situations that have more than one possible outcome or explanation, and the writer does not reveal which one is correct. For example, in The Lady or the Tiger by Frank Stockton, a man has to choose between two doors in an arena. Behind one door is a beautiful lady who will marry him, and behind the other is a ferocious tiger who will kill him. The story ends with the man opening one of the doors, but the reader never finds out what he sees. This creates a suspenseful and mysterious ending that invites the reader to imagine their own version of what happens next. A third way to use ambiguity in stories is to create ambiguous words or phrases. These are words or phrases that have more than one meaning or sense, and the writer does not make it clear which one they intend. For example, in The Catcher in the Rye by J. Salinger, the protagonist Holden Caulfield often uses the word phony to describe people and things he dislikes. However, the word phony can also mean fake, insincere, or hypocritical, and it can be applied to Holden himself, who lies and pretends to be someone he is not. This creates a humorous and ironic effect that makes the reader question Holden's reliability and credibility as a narrator. As you can see, ambiguity can be a powerful tool for writers to create tension in their stories. By leaving some things unclear or open-ended, they can engage the reader's imagination and curiosity, and make them think more deeply about the meaning and message of the story. Intelligence and ambiguity are powerful tools to create tension in your stories. They can make your audience curious, engaged, and emotionally invested in the outcome. But how do you balance them with clarity and coherence to avoid confusing or frustrating the audience? Here are some tips to help you achieve this delicate balance. First, you need to have a clear understanding of your own story. What is the main theme, message, or question you want to explore? What are the main conflicts, stakes, and goals of your characters? What are the key plot points, twists, and reveals that drive the story forward? Having a clear vision of your story will help you decide what information to reveal or withhold, and when and how to do it. Second, you need to know your audience. Who are they, what are they expecting, and what are they interested in? How much prior knowledge or experience do they have with your genre, topic, or style? How much ambiguity can they tolerate or enjoy? Knowing your audience will help you tailor your story to their needs and preferences, and avoid alienating or boring them. Third, you need to use different techniques to create and resolve ambiguity. For example, you can use foreshadowing, hints, clues, red herrings, unreliable narrators, flashbacks, flash forwards, parallel stories, multiple perspectives, symbolism, metaphors, irony, paradoxes, etc. These techniques can help you create mystery, suspense, surprise, humor, irony, or emotional impact. But you also need to resolve some of the ambiguity at some point in the story. You can do this by providing answers, explanations, revelations, confirmations, or resolutions. These techniques can help you satisfy the audience's curiosity, reward their attention, validate their interpretations, or challenge their assumptions. The key is to find the right balance between creating and resolving ambiguity. You don't want to reveal everything too soon or too late. You don't want to leave too many loose ends or unanswered questions. You don't want to make everything too obvious or too obscure. You want to keep the audience guessing but not frustrated. You want to make them think but not confused. To achieve this balance, you need to test your story with feedback from others. You can ask them questions like, what did you understand from the story? What did you like or dislike about it? What did you find confusing or unclear? What did you find surprising or predictable? What questions do you still have after reading or watching the story? How did the story make you feel? Based on their feedback, you can adjust your story accordingly. Intelligence and ambiguity can make your stories more engaging and memorable. But they also require careful planning and execution. By following these tips, you can balance intelligence and ambiguity with clarity and coherence in your stories.